Right, so today we thought we'd show you a pole work exercise that you can develop into sort of raised canter poles, little jumps, nothing too big, because with what's going on with coronavirus, we don't want to add to the burden for the NHS. So we're just trying to keep the horses interested, keep ourselves interested, and having to think, but without doing anything too drastic. So we've basically set up 4 poles on a 20-metre circle. We'll add a picture in now. So of the 4 points of the circle, so we've got poles and we've got some wings set out. It's basically an exercise to help keep the same rhythm, keep the horses thinking, because everything comes up very quickly, keep you thinking, keep you focusing on staying in the middle of each jump, so you're keeping straight to the jump but on a nice curve. You're keeping them supple around your inside leg. So we start with it as poles. So first of all, I've come in and have a warm-up. So I've already had a warm-up with Maximus. So I've had a walk, trot and a canter. And then I'm going to start working him in trot first of all over the poles. So first of all, I'm going to trot over just 2 of the outside poles to begin with, and then I'll build up to trotting all 4 poles on a 20-metre circle. So I just start by trotting 2 of the poles on the 20-metre circle, not to make it too difficult. And what you want them to do is just stay nice and relaxed, stay around your inside leg, and just trot it like it's not there. So unlike Maximus who canted last time, so I'm just going to do this a few times because he's still quite young and green, till he relaxes. And we'll do this on both reins. So I've now done it on the right, so I'll change rein and do it on the left. You could also make this exercise slightly easier if you wanted, if you had a younger horse or you didn't want to make it as complicated. You could make the circle bigger, especially if you've got a bigger arena than a 20 by 40. But we've only got a 20 by 40, so we've done it on a 20-metre circle. So he's staying nice and relaxed now, so I'm now going to add in all 4 poles. So you want to keep looking to your next pole. Doesn't matter if they get it slightly wrong, as long as they stay round your inside leg, you're aiming for the middle of the poles, keeping them round the inside leg, keep looking round. Exactly the same on this rein now with all 4 poles, and you'll find your horse will have a better rein they do it on because they all have a good and a bad rein. So Maximus tends to be the right. So you'll probably find he finds this a bit harder, he finds it a bit harder to stay around my inside leg. But as long as he stays relaxed, keep looking up and round. I'm going to do the same again and canter just 2 poles to begin with before adding in all 4. So you just leave a little bit of a gap with 2 of the poles so you can get round the outside safely. Ours is quite tight, but they're all okay. You just went the wrong leg then, so that's why I go back to trot. Just want to try and keep them even round your inside leg again. The same canter, just let the pole come to you. If they get it wrong, it doesn't matter. It's about teaching them to figure it out themselves. Right there, I just left into it. You keep looking up and round. So now I'm going to start adding in all 4 poles. Keep looking round. I'm trying to get even number of strides, which he's done. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and a half. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so once you've trotted over the 4 poles, both reins, in a nice even rhythm. You can do them as many times as you like, so I normally do them about 2 or 3 times, more if they need it. And then I've cantered on both reins. So he actually, I did it with Todd and Zeb this morning, so we'll add in some footage of them. He actually, although he's the youngest and the greenest, he actually did it the best. I think because he's got a very even, nice rhythm that he just manages to keep. So he found it quite easy compared to actually Zebedee, who is, you know, 10 years older and has done a lot more. Zeb actually found it a bit harder because he doesn't keep the same rhythm as much. So yeah, it's interesting actually how much easier he found it. So once I've cantered both the poles, both reins, if you want to, and you're finding it easy and you want to raise the poles and make them little jumps, then you can. But my sister Georgie, who will add some footage in, and my dad, they only did them as poles on the ground, because if you're not as competent with jumping or you don't want to jump in this time, then you can just leave them, or you can raise them just like one-sided, so they're like little raised canter poles. We're doing little jumps, but when I say little, they are literally, and I'll just pan around to that, they're almost like a raised canter pole. So, and we've, you know, he normally jumps, he just did his first newcomer's 110, so this is a lot smaller for him. So it's, although we are jumping, it's small for him. So if you are going to raise them up, what we've done is just raise up 2 to begin with. So you still canter the 4, but you've only got 2 as jumps, and I'll do that a couple of times on each rein before then raising all of them, because then that is quite a hard exercise. Yeah, so I'll go and canter and jump the 2 that are raised, and then we'll put all 4 up if he copes with that well. Keep looking around, trying to get the same number of strides, and he's doing 4 all the time. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So he did the left really nicely, and he was doing the right really nicely. We then just knocked the black and white, which is fine, doesn't matter if they knock. He just tends to get a little bit more excited the more he does, so that's all that was happening then, that then I lose the rideability a little bit. So this is why it's very good for Maximus, because he's got a massive jump. Like I say, he just went and did his first newcomers without even really jumping 110 at home and flew it. However, he's not always that rideable, so it's fine in like show jumping courses, basic cross-country courses, but I think as we move up the levels of eventing and the cross-country becomes a bit more technical, that's where we may fall down, is where, like with Zeb, he's so rideable. I kind of look at a fence and he's really with me and in tune. I mean, he is older and I have had him a lot longer, but he'll lock on, whereas Maximus isn't always that rideable. He ends up losing his shoulder, so then if we had like a tricky line or a skinny, we might end up running out of it for him. So we're now going to add in the other 2 jumps. If you were finding your horse was finding this really difficult, I would just leave it at that, do it on both reins, and then you could come back to it, you know, the next day or a couple of days later and increase what you do with them. Although Maximus hasn't done it, I've done this quite a lot, and I've done it with 2 horses this morning, so I know how to ride it and have ridden it quite a lot. So if it's your first time, it might take you a little bit longer. So if you only end up doing 2 jumps, that doesn't matter. So we'll add the other 2 in, and then we'll have a go at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 8. Good boy. 1, 2, Yeah, Max has a very big jump, so he tends to over jump everything. So this is also quite good because then it makes the next 3 strides really short. He still needs to, when we're doing them as poles, he stays very nice and relaxed over his back. When he jumped, he was just getting a little bit more excited, so then having to turn was a bit more difficult. So I'm definitely going to come and practice that again in the next few days. Just gets himself a little bit more excited. That time he did stay a little bit more around my inside leg. I still would probably like him to stay a little bit more so that when we land, he's not falling straight in. Like when I then come to jump the last and go straight, he's wanting to already turn right, which is good because he knows he's trying to anticipate where we're going, but he needs to think about where he's going and stay around my inside leg. Yes, I'm going to finish him there. Once you've done that, you go and cool them down appropriately so they can cool all their muscles down. If you have any questions, feel free to ask about how you set it up and anything like that. We're more than happy to answer any questions. So basically it's just 4 poles set up on a 20-metre circle with wings if you want to jump. Otherwise you can just leave them as poles on the ground. And if you're limited on the number of poles, you could just use a pole with each and then just put a little filler or something underneath if you're going to jump. Hope you found that useful, and yeah, go and have a go and tag us in any videos you have of you trying it on Instagram or Facebook, as we'd like to see.